Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the MASFAAmeUP podcast. We are the unofficial podcast of the Midwest Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, a podcast by financial aid professionals for financial aid professionals. I am one of your co-hosts, Emily Hainham from Mizzou, and also the current MASFA president-elect.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chad Olson. I'm one of your co-hosts as well. I'm the Director of Student Financial Aid at Iowa State University, and I'm currently serving MASFA as a site selection co-chair, and I am also a MASFA former president.
And hello, everyone. Alex DeLone is here. St. Louis University Assistant Vice President for Student Financial Services. That one always stumps me. And your MASFA Archives and Research Chair and co-chair of the Finance Task Force.
Okay, well, today's guest needs no introduction, but you know what? We're going to give him one anyway. He's a WWE Superstar, a member of the Street Profits, and if you've seen him in the ring, you know that he brings energy, grit, and leadership every time he steps up. But what you might not know is Angelo Dawkins also has a story that speaks to his perseverance, identity, and the power of believing in yourself, both on and off the mat. So we want to learn more about Angelo's mindset today. Angelo, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, Angelo, let's start at the beginning. Okay, you grew up in Cincinnati, right? What were those early days like? What kind of kid were you? I hear that you are a huge Ohio State fan.
Yes, I am a very, very huge Ohio State fan. In fact, I'm such a huge Ohio State fan that the whole roster was very relieved that I was out the whole time during their playoff run. And did I mention that my tag's partner's wife is a graduate from the University of Tennessee? So that was a great time for me right there. But yes, I did grow up in Cincinnati. The early days, kid that liked sports, chill, play video games the whole time, and eat a lot of food.
Was college always part of your plan? Like, how did you land at Harper College and then move into wrestling?
So, yeah, college was the plan. I really wanted to play D1 football. So I went to college with the mindset of football. And at that time, like, offers really wasn't rolling in for me like that in high school. So then I ended up going the JUCO route and ended up going to Harper College in Illinois and played football there. We won the national title there. Remember my freshman year was pretty dope. We went 13-1, came back from a 38-6 deficit in the fourth quarter, won 39-38. So that was a fun time right there. And that sealed us as the national champions of the NJCAA. Then out of the blue, had no plans of wrestling whatsoever, like not even a thought. I think a bunch of heavyweights either had quit or gotten hurt. And so I remember Coach Loprino and them came up to me and it was like, hey, you ever think about wrestling? And at that time, I really wanted to go home and enjoy like my winter break and stuff. So I was like, nope, I had no plans of wrestling. And then sure enough, second semester starts. Our defensive coordinator tracks me down, walks me to Loprino's office, like, hey, I found your heavyweight. And I was like, guess I got no choice but to wrestle now. But then that's how I ended up meeting Alex, because he had just wrestled he was done the year before, but he was working in the financial aid office at Harper. And so we became pretty cool there. We come in the room, we would wrestle, and there was I had a lot of catching up to do because I was nowhere near wrestling shape. Yeah, I ended up wrestling, and then long story short, so I ended up getting recruited into WWE, just randomly getting walked to my wrestling coach's office, and then ended up going into national duels. And me and this dude, Adam Chalfant, were wrestling around. And sure enough, our coaches who like to play jokes on us, like, hey, yo, WWE's Jerry Briscoe's here. It's like, what? They was like, yeah, bro, he's over there right now. He wants to talk to you. I'm like, man, all right, bro, whatever. Leave me alone. Go on the mat, wrestle, come back. Sure enough, Briscoe meets up with me. I was like, oh, snap. It was for real. And me being a guy that don't really necessarily like homework, and my football career was kind of on not happening anyway. So I was like, all right, I'll give this a shot. and I've been doing it ever since.
So you said heavyweight, right? And Alex had already stopped wrestling at the point when you joined the team.
Yeah.
So did he replace you as the heavyweight, Alex?
Yeah, he Angelo succeeded me. I was an All-American the year before. And then like he said, there were it was tough getting a heavyweight after I had stepped out. We had a couple guys, there were some injuries, things like that. So Angelo stepped in and I was still working in the financial aid office after I was a student employee. So I would go in during practice, after practice, and me, like he said, we just get them caught up, get in shape, and ready to compete.
So you moved from being a heavyweight in wrestling to a heavyweight in the financial aid field. I love that. I love that.
I mean,
Good.
one could make that argument. Well,
Yeah,
I like that. I'll
I
take
like that. I
that.
also love how you slipped in that you were an All-American that past year. That was
I
great.
mean, I didn't want to leave out any details from from that time.
Always got a stat boost. Always got a stat boost.
The important stuff. The important stuff. So I wanted to talk about, like, Angelo, I don't know how often you read, inside higher ed, maybe not as much as ESPN, but there's been a lot going on in the financial aid industry. We've a lot of changing laws, rules, regulations, staffing shortages, and it seems like the work is piling up on us, right? So
Mhm.
I want to know, kind of thinking about what we can learn from your profession and your mindset, right? In these high pressure times, I think about being a WWE superstar. You're grinding all the time. You're traveling year round. You have to go out and you have to perform injured, or maybe when you might not be at your best, but you still have to go out and make it seem like everything is okay and put on that show. How do
Right.
you do that night in and night out, and kind of push through the pain to go out there and perform no matter what?
I mean, now, like, you used to be like my younger self when I was like still like up and coming in this. Like, it was just like, all right, man, like you just got to put your feet down, put your head down, and just get the grind. Now I got a little bit. It's a little bit easier of a motivation for me now. I have two kids. I have a wife, so that kind of like, all right, look, I'm doing this for them, and I always think of like try to think about the bigger picture at hand. Sometimes I may not feel like going out there, but at the end of the day, I'm doing this to provide for my family, and I'm doing this because, yeah, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it becomes a little taxing, and sometimes I just need to, like, pull back, take a deep breath, check myself, like, hey, this is bigger than just you. You're not doing it for you. You have a family to feed. You have a house to pay for. All this stuff that I never thought in a million years I wouldn't have to worry about. Like, I kind of don't, in a sense, just because like that's what's putting food on the table. That's what's keeping the lights on in the house and stuff like that. And being able to provide for my two sons without even thinking about it. And that's how I kind of push through there. And then sometimes, hey, look, if that don't work, always just go to somebody that'll humble me real quick. Like, that's where I got my tag partner, my brother, essentially, Montez Ford. Even Bianca, my sister, who probably would love to do nothing but just to humble me, just because, yes, I can be a little cocky at some point in times in my life, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I need to be humbled a little bit. Sometimes I might get in my own head a little bit and just like, what is the work overwhelming me? Is like traveling just becoming too much for me? And it's like, nah, not at all. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you really look at it, we're grown kids essentially just going out there in shorts, singlets, jerseys, and just having fun, like talking trash and beating each other up. Like, like, I can't really get mad at that. And like, but sometimes it does get taxing because we don't have an off season. We don't have vacation time at all. We have to basically fit our vacations in to how like hard, like I have SmackDown. So essentially I have to go like Mondays through Thursdays on vacations and stuff like that. if I was on Raw, I'd probably have the weekends to a degree. But like I just kind of push myself through and just think about my family at that point in time, just to keep pushing.
Love it. Love it.
So, Angelo, and I'm going to frighten the co-host because I'm going a little off script here. I have a question for all three of you because I've talked to Alex about this before. And Angelo, you shared that you enjoyed playing football before you really went into wrestling. And Emily, you were a two-sport athlete. And I've talked to like Jerry Briscoe about this. And I've talked to Mike Rotundo about this. Mike was a, heavyweight champion D1 at Syracuse. He played football at Syracuse. And when we had him in for our Hall of Fame a couple years ago, we were talking to him and he's like, oh yeah, my favorite sport is baseball. And, it sounds like with both Alex and Angelo, your favorite sport was football, but you excelled at wrestling. And Emily, I think, was your favorite soccer?
No, I chose basketball, and I
Okay.
went to Ohio State on basketball scholarship, and then I ended up revisiting soccer and ended up being better at soccer.
So, and when I was talking to Jerry about this a couple weeks ago, he wrestled at Oklahoma State Division I program, and his favorite sport was football. And he says because of the contact. So do you think sometimes people who achieve at high levels are actually they like the other sport better because it's harder for them to get there? You know what I mean? So you guys both excelled in wrestling, but you loved football. Were you trying to better yourselves in that sport? And Emily, kind of what you talked about too, with transitioning from basketball to soccer?
I think essentially, yeah, because honestly, like the more that I think about it, because now I have a bunch of friends that are from all over the globe, so they'll see me talking smack in the locker room every year when it's like time for football, whatever. But their sport being football, soccer, like, me being around them got me into soccer a bunch now, and like when the World Cup or the Euros hit, they're at each other's heads. Like, I think also with that, the sport that you love the most, I feel like you put the most pressure on yourself. Like, rather than like the sport, obviously, we ended up excelling in wrestling. I felt like there was really no pressure for me at wrestling. I just kind of went in with an open mind and it was like a hope for the best scenario. Whereas football, I was like, man, I really want to go D1. I really want to play in the NFL. I really want to do like it was just like you put all these like pressures on yourself in the sport that you love the most that sometimes don't really pan out and you end up doing something you don't. It wasn't your first choice, but like you ain't mad about that choice being had and you stepping into that sport. Like I low key wish I would have played soccer because I like soccer's slowly becoming like one of my favorite sports now. Like just because like being around guys like my boy Finn Balor, guys like Drew, Sheamus, all of them. Cause like when I tell you the funniest time for me is like when the World Cup happens. Cause that's like the World Cup for them is like Uno for us. Like it ruins friendships. It's the best thing ever. Like it is dope. I love it. Like I remember what me and Finn were watching the World Cup final with Argentina and France, and like that was when I fell in love with the sport. And I always think about because my wrestling coach in high school, Coach Masonic, his daughter coached the soccer team, and his daughter was trying to get me to leave football to come play soccer, go be a goalie. She was like, "Look, I know it's crazy, but if you come to soccer and you play goalie, I'll make you an all-state goalie." And I was like, nah, I want to play football. I ain't trying to play no soccer. And like, knowing what I know now, probably would have took her up on that bet.
Well,
Yeah, I mean that's exactly how I got pulled into wrestling was playing football. Wrestling coach came over one day, spoke to the whole football team and said, if you want to be a better football player, wrestle. You'll get a lot of the fundamentals that will overlap. And then it slowly ended up taking over as kind of my favorite out of the two. And then I always say, like, even talking about some of the tough times in financial aid and things that we do, I think we probably all heard this, like once you've wrestled, everything else is easy. Like what we've been through in those wrestling practices and out there, like, it doesn't, I don't worry too much about deadlines and things like that when you get put in a fishbowl in the middle of a wrestling room. Like it's a big difference.
Yeah, I think for me, I played travel soccer way longer, club soccer way longer
Mhm.
than basketball. I joined basketball later just because the leagues and stuff, and AAU for women was kind of just starting to get popular when I was a kid, right? Like, I mean, Rebecca Lobo and women being on ESPN were just
Mhm.
started. UConn Dynasty and Pat Summitt and the Tennessee Volunteers were kind of just becoming a thing when I was like in middle school, right? So I think basketball was this big shining star out there. It was harder for me because it was more of a team sport. Soccer's a team sport, don't get me wrong, but I was a goalkeeper, right? So my only job I had was to save the day, right? I didn't get to score. I didn't get to like be in the fray the whole game. Now you're back there trying to organize things, but there was something more challenging about basketball for me, and I never really thought of it that way.
I'd say the
How
same
this,
about wrestling for sure.
yeah, yeah, and how this relates to higher education is, financially, there's not a pathway. There's not a major to get there. So all of us in
Mm,
financial aid started off with other aspirations, and then we get the financial aid bug, and it is really hard. And I was certainly not a wrestler to the degree of you gentlemen. I wrestled as a youth, wrestled through high school, and I still coach my youth program in the town. But yeah, it's like, man, when you're staying up late working on stuff, it's hard. But it's like, oh man, you know what? Doing wall sprints after 2 hours of wrestling
Yeah.
practice. That was really hard. And I have that poster you're talking about, Alex, with that Coach Gable said, once you wrestle, everything else in life is easy. Um,
yeah.
and I think all of us who come into financial aid take those past experiences that maybe motivated us and funnel them into a career where we can help students because maybe we enjoy the grind and we enjoy
Yeah.
fixing the problems.
Well, nobody on career day when I was in school came in and talked about being a higher ed professional, other than a faculty person. It's like not until you got on campus, and I think a lot of us in the financial aid field, came through the federal work study side, but it's you don't learn about the staff administration portion until much later. Definitely didn't happen, when they were talking to us about being lawyers and doctors and all of those things. Okay. Angelo, knowing you for a long time, one thing I've always appreciated, especially with your transition to the WWE, is that Angelo Dawkins is you times 10, right? Like you are you all the time. And I've always loved that. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. You bring your authentic self everywhere you go. And I'd say in a professional higher education setting, or I'd say in our field, sometimes bringing your authentic self to work can be a struggle, right? In what people think of you, and being judged, especially folks from underrepresented backgrounds, right? So talk to us a little bit about what does authenticity mean to you, and just how do you time after time walk into rooms no matter what as just bringing your full self.
It's very important, honestly, just because like everybody can see everybody, if you're not acting like yourself, like everybody can kind of see it, especially people that know you and people like that can read people like very well. It's just one of those things, like you have to be yourself. Like, for instance, me and Tez rocks 3-piece tuxedo suits to McDonald's. I'll rock house shoes and sweatpants to a 5-star restaurant, to a steakhouse, like not even thinking about it. And just like that's always been me. I've always had house shoes on. And a lot of people hated that about me, saying I wouldn't get far with just house shoes and sweatpants. I've been here for 13 years now. So, like, just being myself, like, I'm always going to joke around. I'm always going to be goofy. I'm never going to try to be, I can't be uptight. Like, that's not what makes me me. Like, if I was uptight, I would have been fired years ago. And that's what, like, I kind of just approach it as, like, all right, I'm always a playful, joke around kind of guy. Like, I'll talk about sports and just talk a bunch of trash. Because in my field here, like they like that. Triple H, Road Dog, like those dudes. I always joke around with like Road Dog and them when they were coaching me at the PC. Like everybody was showing up in like suits, just uptight, all this stuff. And I'm straight out of college. Like I don't have no suits. Like I have a hoodie on, some pajama pants, and some house shoes. And I'm like, hey, yo, what's good?
Yeah. I like seeing you on a red carpet in house shoes and basketball shorts. Like I'm just sitting at home just cracking up because right, like it doesn't matter the time, the place, and the location.
Like, obviously, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some things you'll be able to get out of rocking suits. Like, that just comes with the territory. But 9 times out of 10, I'm dressed to relax. I'm dressed in how I feel comfortable. And I don't really care what anybody thinks about me at that point in time. They can say I look like a bum. Well, hey, look, this bum has had his house shoes in 2 commercials. Snickers commercial and a Head and Shoulders commercial. Like, all right, cool. So I mean, and like stuff like that, like it's just like some people will hate on it, and that's because in hindsight, they really wish they could be able to pull something like that off. They won't be able to because they won't allow themselves to be themselves how they really want to be. They have to they feel like they have to come in and be like super uptight because they feel like perception is reality. They want to be perceived as this person when in hindsight they're really not that. Like they're not even close to what they're trying to put out at work. And sometimes your boss can see through that. And like even like there's been times where like, yeah, have there's been times where I've been uncomfortable being like myself at some points, and Triple H called me out on it. And I remember one time I showed up in a suit. He's like, "Dogs, what you doing, bro?" I was like, "Yeah, you right. I can go back to my sweats now, right?" He's like, "Yeah, dog, go." I was like, "Let's go, my guy." You know what I'm saying? But nah, it's just like you just gotta be yourself because everybody can see through all the fake and all this stuff. Like, hey man, that ain't you, dog. Like, what you doing, man? Like, come on now. Like, you gotta be better than that. It's gotten me to where I am now, like being myself authentically. Like some dudes will be scared to go up to Undertaker and roast his team to his face. I'm not. Heck, we even got a bet coming up for week 1 of college football, Ohio State versus Texas. And like it's super dope to be able to feel like I'm like to be comfortable enough to go up to those guys, joke around because that's all they do is joke around. Like they
Yeah.
joke around all the time. And like everybody be like so uptight, so nervous. They just one of the boys at heart. And sometimes they want to feel like one of the boys. They don't want to be like super corporate and all that stuff. And even in the corporate field, I feel like you got to be yourself. Just because if you're not yourself, it's gonna be very hard to like go through the whole day of work. Like you got a long day of work. If you're a jokester, go and be a jokester. Now don't be like doing all that crazy like freaking put
We'll
somebody.
have HR rules.
Yeah,
You know, we
you know
have
what I'm saying?
HR.
Don't be going
You
to
know.
HR and all that stuff, but don't be doing stuff that puts you in that position. But like, man, like, yo, be a jokester, have fun. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you do, just make sure you're having fun. It's not a job if you're having fun. It's more like a career. And that's the cool part about it. You just got to approach it like that and just be yourself. Whether it's being quiet and getting like you've always been known to get your work done, go ahead and do it. Like,
Yeah. Love that. Love that. I think one of the key qualities in a leader in any setting is right, like that person just being genuine, right? In your world, in our world, I think that holds true no matter what.
yeah,
Well, and I just want to piggyback off of that really quick because like the way you said it, Angelo, like really like triggered something in me. Being my authentic self took 20 years, like honestly, and it was an evolution. It was very slow progression because I was afraid of losing opportunity. And as soon as I started to take those steps to be who I am, I became more confident. And all of a sudden that confidence breeded more success. I feel like my career started to improve dramatically. My relationships with my colleagues, my relationships personally, when I started to be who I am more authentically. And I think that all feeds into better career life, better work. It helps us help students better. So I just really appreciate the way you said it, because I would be scared to wear my house shoes and sweatpants into the office. So but like, metaphorically, I am doing that now, and so
right.
yeah, it's cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So I have to ask you the million dollar question because it's fascinating to me. I'm not a huge WWE fan. I don't watch it a ton, but I have to know what's more difficult, jumping off of the top rope or completing the FAFSA?
That was a hard question right there.
That was a long pause. I love it.
I'm definitely gonna go with completing FAFSA. I ain't gonna lie, I'm still trying to figure that out.
I know we spent some long hours back in the day talking through that kind of stuff.
Look, nothing made me happier when we got moved up to the main roster from NXT. The very first thing that I did was pay off all my student loans.
Woo!
That's fantastic.
Yes.
I was
That
like,
is a
bro,
good
I
feeling.
can't tell you nothing about fast. Only thing I can tell you about fast was it was very hard, very confusing. A lot of factors go into it. And oh yeah, I had to pay all that back. So yeah, I did that. Now I don't even have to think about it no more. So like
So if you could go back, and walk in as your 18-year-old self into a financial aid office, what advice would you give to yourself walking in back then?
Man, where do I even start? Man, dang, honestly, I'll probably say just be a little bit smarter about how you approach going into that, because like 18-year-old me never even knew fast food was a word. So like I didn't really understand it as much. I still don't understand it to a degree now, but like it's just one of those things, like, because FAFSA, it's very, one thing I learned about it, because I wasn't like a very good student in the classroom like that. Like, yeah, they'll probably give you like you apply for it, but you also got to keep your grades up. And my grades kind of weren't really up the whole time. So having to go back and like try to keep getting like money when grades sucked, like, it was like, if I was going to tell my 18-year-old self, I'd probably be like, all right, bro, try a little bit harder in the classroom. That way it doesn't really affect you paying for classes and stuff like that and all that stuff.
We don't need Angelo wrestling with satisfactory academic progress. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think it all worked out for you, though. I think.
Hey, look, man, wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those moments right there.
Love it. You talked a lot about yourself and motivating yourself and pushing yourself and, your mindset to do better. Thinking about your tag team partner and others around you and motivating those people. I've seen firsthand, and I don't know if you remember this, Angelo, at my wedding, you got the entire wedding party so hype before we walked out that the best man lost my wife's wedding band. And we had to search the church to find it before we could actually walk out because of the speech you gave before we walked out, right? So I've seen it firsthand. So just thinking about, being that person for other people, right? And just kind of your mindset there.
Man, nah, that's just me having fun at that point in time, bro. Like I said, bro, you gotta have fun with stuff like that. It's not like one of those like be uptight, like I gotta give this crazy speech. Like, nah, bro, just have fun. You're around your boys, so like that's when it becomes the most fun, and that's what makes it easy around being around Taz, being around guys like Finn, being around guys like Ludwig Kaiser, my boy Carmelo, R-Truth, Randy, and all of them, because like, dog, like we just be in the locker room joking around. I got this phrase called LDB, love the business. You know what I'm saying? And like always, like if there's a whiteboard in the locker room, always write it on the board. Just because, like, man, I'm just joking. Like that's just me joking around. And then before the show starts, I give like this funny. I don't know if y'all seen like the dude that does the like how coaches be and stuff like that on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So Mr. Go 30, he's one of my favorite dudes to watch, just because like every time he does, like he's watching film as a coach he's spot on because he's saying everything a coach was saying. I essentially kind of go off of that a little bit, just a little bit more motivational. I'm just like joking around, but it's just me joking. Like that day, I remember that day vividly because that was a long day. That was a very long day. Flight got delayed. He had to do last minute tuxedo deals.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so like I was like,
remember.
all right,
I remember.
Yeah. I was like, man, I gotta give a speech to lighten the mood up real quick, you know what I'm saying? And then sure enough, hey, I remember that. Who was it?
Yeah.
RJ?
Yeah, he definitely, as he was jumping up and down from your speech, the ring popped out of his pocket, and we had to put a search party out to find it before we could actually get married.
What a time. What a time. See, that was first off, that was the problem. See, I got married in my backyard. You know what I'm saying? See, there was no way I was gonna lose the ring in my own house.
That's fair. That's hindsight's always 2020. Yeah. Gosh. All right, Emily, I think you can take us home.
All right. Well, Angelo, thank you so much for joining us and helping us wrestle all of these complicated issues. I think a lot of these topics are things that help us become better financial aid professionals, but also better for our students and better for all the folks that we serve. So thank you to my co-host, as always, for joining me in this adventure of the MASFAAmeUP podcast. Don't hesitate to email us at masfaameup@gmail.com. Don't forget, the MASFA 2025 annual conference is October 12th through 15th in St. Charles, Missouri. The theme is Lean on Me, and the program is shaping up to be a great one. Thanks to my co-host, thanks again to Angelo, and thanks to all the listeners out there to the MASFAAmeUP podcast.